Hi guys, West Coast Arachnids. I'm just doing a little clean out of my superworms. Thought I'd throw a little video on it, do an update. I pulled out the beetles that I have. That's what I've been using so far. Most of those are recent. I don't even know how many's in there. 3, 6, 9, 11. Not many. But other than that, I've got to clean out these two. This one, I'm not sure why these turn dark like this, but they're not dead, they're alive. Must have been something I fed them. Anyway, I'm going to give these guys a clean out, and all I do is just pull out all the dried up fruits or vegetables that I have in there. Actually an old beetle as well. It's kind of neat. The inside, I don't know if you can see that, it's shiny green. Little bits of that beetle everywhere pretty much. Once something dies in here, it doesn't go to waste, they eat it. Okay, so that one's all cleaned out of junk. This one here, it's got some potato skins and such in here left. I like to give them a little bit of variety. Potatoes, carrots, oranges, apples, cucumber, watermelon, things like that. I don't feed them anything like banana or avocado, anything that's a pasty type fruit or vegetable, as that a lot of those tend to be bad for them. Some of them can kill them, and they just basically, it turns to mush in there and destroys the whole thing, brings in mites. But okay, looks like we got a few in there, some nice big ones, so I'm going to take a lot of those out, and I am going to stick them into little tubs like this. If you don't know, superworms will not pupate in a group, so you have to take something like this. This was a worm about not even a week ago. There's the let's just grab it out. That's the pupate, or the pupa, and that's the old skin off it. Still looks like it's got a little bit of skin stuck to it, but that's fine. It'll come off. So that'll take a couple of weeks to pupate through this stage, and then it's going to metamorphose into a beetle to the final stage. And then I can chuck it in with the other beetles and let it go and breed away. So what I do with these is I've got two strainers here, one for little tiny babies and one for the bigger ones. So let's get the bigger ones out of here first. All I do for that is just strain it right through. It can be a little dusty. You want to keep the dust down, just do it by hand or outside. Should have been a better idea. Okay, while I do this, I'm going to pause this so you're not bored, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got it all done there. And what you have left here is just, it's the frass, basically the mealworm or superworm poop. Now I don't throw that away. That is awesome fertilizer for plants. especially if you got outside plants or whatever, you can stick it in there, or starting to do seedlings and such. You can mix this in with the soil, leave it for about a week, and then plant your seeds. Excellent nutrients, awesome fertilizer. So I'll take this and I'll put it into Ziploc bags, and that's where it'll stay. I'll seal them up. So that's what I have out of both of those. The smaller, darker ones are from that one bin, and the larger ones from the other. So I'm going to take out probably most of the large ones, and then get them to pupate. This one here is molting right now. This little, I'll get it by itself. That one there, it's split down the middle and it's pulling its skin off. So while I have them out, I'm just going to pick out a bunch that I'm going to save. Now you want to get the biggest ones you can find for pupating into beetles. You don't want them sitting in there with still another molt to go. So the bigger the better. They should be in their last molt, their final molt. And it's pretty easy to tell once you've dealt with mealworms or superworms quite a bit. That one's actually got a ways to go because it just molted, so I'm going to take it out. But that is his final molt. They will molt a little smaller, like this is one molt before its last molt. I'll get two side by side and you'll see the difference. This one's much skinnier. It's about the same length though, and it will turn into a beetle at that stage. But I like them to get as big as possible. And pick out the rounder ones out of the group. If they're kind of flat on the bottom, that means they really need a good feeding before you take them out. You can actually feed them right in the little tub. And you put them in by themselves to pupate. I usually stick like a fingernail sized piece of carrot in there just for them to have moisture. They need a lot of moisture, just like a tarantula, when they molt into the final stage, and that's going to get them through to the beetle stage. Now if they don't have enough moisture, you're going to get deformed beetles such as this, where the wings don't close at the end. A good molt, I don't know how well you're going to see the difference, but these guys are just constantly on the go. So that one's a good molt. I get them side by each, if you can see the difference there. The wings on the one don't close. This one's a lot more sprightly than the other one. It just makes for better breeding, more eggs, yada yada. So make sure you feed them well. Some of these are a little flat on the bottom. I was gonna put that darker one in, or the lighter one, sorry, but I'm not going to. It'll just take forever. See, this one's a nice, I'll show you here the difference. Now this white one here is just molted, so it's got some eating and growing to do still. It's got a long way to go before it turns into a pupa. This one here is nice and dark. starting to slow down a bit, it's perfect for throwing in the pot. I don't know how many I have here yet. I'm probably going to end up taking 1 or 2 of them out because they look a little small. Keep grabbing the wrong one. Slippery little buggers. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them in here probably and give them a really good feed. Get them growing, get them right, plumped up. I'm going to put a little bit of wheat bran in there, and I just use 100% wheat bran. That's it. I do that for my mealworms and my superworms. You can give them a variety if you want. This is what they eat. The other stuff is mainly for moisture, but they get nutrients and such from it as well, the fruit and veggies. So I suggest before you feed, you gut load with, you know, a chunk of orange or apple or watermelon, carrot, potato, whatever you have on hand. Do not powder it. If you want to keep it organic, don't give it vitamins. They get enough vitamins from their food and the nutrients from the wheat bran. And you just don't know what they put in some of the vitamins. And especially with tarantulas, you don't want to risk it. With reptiles and such, you're probably going to want to powder them. And most people do that, but they also powder them when they feed them as well. So they get their nutrients that way. So I got about, I don't know, 20 in here. So I'll just stuff in, you know, a big chunk of orange, get them right, you know, hydrated and plumped right up. And once that orange is done, I'll probably do another one. And I don't put a lid on this. That's it. I leave it just like this. They don't get out. They may be able to crawl out. If you really want to put something over this, slip a pair of pantyhose over it, tie a knot in it, a loose knot, or put a rubber band around the edge there that opens, but put it on tight, and that's all you need. But it needs ventilation. If you cover it up with a lid, you know, put a plastic lid and put a bunch of holes in it, whatever you put in there is going to mold. It's going to bring in mites. It's going to kill your culture, you know, your mealworm culture or your superworm culture, and you don't want that because you're going to have to chuck the whole thing out and start from scratch. So leave it open. These little buggers here, they will get out. They will fly, and they will get out. The mealworms, I don't find they do so. They don't fly at all. I never find them out and about. Every now and again, I'll catch one of these guys that have escaped the superworm beetles. But can you hear that? That's the raccoons outside fighting. They must have found something. Somebody must be feeding them. Anyway, so these guys here, I'm just going to leave them in this container. And I have a lid for it, which I can't find at the moment. Anyway, I'll use this as an example. I'm going to get the proper lid for this so it fits, but I'm going to cut out this. And I'm going to put a piece of screen over there and glue it down with some plastic over top of it with just a hot glue gun. And that's going to give it nice aeration. I'll do a little end clip with it finally done once I get it finished. But for these guys, for now, just going to pour wheat bran straight over them. And I always have tons of wheat bran on hand. I've got another 4 or 5 bags down there. Sorry if this is really loud. I know playing with plastic or paper, it gets really loud in the mic. So with that, once it's spread out, you don't want it any more than about 1 inch. That's it. Any more than that, and what happens when they molt, the skins, especially with mealworms, because there's so many of them, and when your superworm colony gets bigger and there's a lot in here, the molts tend to float on the top of the wheat bran, and it creates kind of a barrier. And what it does is when they're moving around down there, they're causing heat underneath. You know, they're squiggling around underneath here, you know, moving, and that causes energy and transfers into heat. And what happens when you have all that skin over top, it holds that heat in and it will kill the worms. So you need to be careful not to put it too deep. 1 inch is plenty. And once again, I just leave it like that. Absolutely no sense. They're not going to crawl out of this at all. There's no way they're getting out of here. So I just leave it like that, and I'll throw, you know, a couple of pieces of fruit and vegetable on top, and once they're dried up, I'll take them out and replace them with something else. And same thing with these guys. Except for with these guys, I'm going to be now, I'm just going to use a small container. This is only about 6 inches by 4. Now they'll crawl to the top. These guys will get out, but like I said, put a lid on it. I don't know where the lid is. I'm going to have to find it. I left it up there. Oh well. But I'm going to cut it out and put a screen over top, or just wrap a screen over top with an elastic band or something, tying it around so that they can breathe and there's no trapped moisture in there. Like I said, too much humidity will cause mold. So that's it. Remember, don't throw your frass out. It's really, really good for the soil. Helps plants grow. So if you got plants, herb garden, whatever, sprinkle this around it and just water it in. And just as good as a food stick that you'd buy at a plant store. You know, even for house plants, this is excellent. It doesn't smell. Just make sure there's no live mealworms in there. If you're worried about that, put it in a Ziploc bag, throw it in the freezer for a couple of weeks, take it out. No worms, no eggs, no nothing will be alive, so that they won't go down and eat the roots of your plants. But I usually throw these into a bag, a Ziploc bag, and they stay there for a good 6 to 8 months before I use them. So anything in there is long since been dead. That's it. That's my update for my superworms, and I'll do another update on my mealworm colony, which is quite large now. As soon as I get a bunch of tubs, I need some more containers to put them in. I have some here, I just can't remember where I put them. I stored them away somewhere for safekeeping, and now I can't find them. So I'll find them and we'll do an update on that. Anyway, y'all take care, have a great day, and bye for now.